Well, hello again. Sorry about that. I didn't notice the time. I was so carried away on my previous video that it got to the 20 minutes and stopped recording, and I still haven't figured out how to stop this thing doing that. So I'll just make this part 2. I'll call the other bit part 1, and I'll just call this GS-35 part 2. Okay, so trying to remember where I was. The structure of it internally is different. You know, so you've got the you've got a round cathode with a heating element in it. That's connected to one side of the heating element. Then you've got this domed grid arrangement. Remember, it sort of looks like that. If you look down on it, looks like a disc of mesh. It's convex, and the anode is a copper disc, and that sits above it, and that is concave. So it's a little odd, but if you can imagine that, so that's a concave copper disc. Immediately below that is a convex mesh over the cathode. I think cathode's flat, or that might also be convex. I can't remember now, but that's the completely different internal structure of the GS-35B. Actually, it doesn't look like very much at all, does it? It looks really weird. But anyway, I hope you got the gist of that. It's just something to bear in mind if you're making an amplifier. Mind you, I suppose if you're going to be making something like this, you probably know what you're doing anyway. Otherwise, you'd be dead. Okay. Now, this particular tube is, as I say, it's got a cathode. And it has a heating element like that, and inside the cathode is connected to one side of the heating element, so the anode extending outside of the valve. Now, if this was in a grounded grid amplifier circuit, you have a biffle wound choke on the cathode. That will go off to the heater transformer. Not a very good drawing of a transformer, but I'm sure you get the gist of that. So this is the 12.6 volt transformer. It's providing 12.6 volts at 3 amps. And that current is flowing up there. It's flowing round through the heater, through the heating element, around and around like that. And the traditional way you feed a grounded grid amplifier into the cathode, you have a 0.01 across there. You'd have another 0.01 capacitor there. That'd be the RF in, would be from the matching arrangement, but the drive would go into the cathode like that. If this was a directly heated circuit, so it didn't have a cathode as such, had a directly heated cathode element, and then you would connect the center tap of the transformer to 0 volts, or the Zener diode, or the whatever you were going to use to provide a little bit of cathode bias. Now, because this valve, this tube, has a cathode and it's connected to one side of the filament, people have said what you need to do is, now this is biffle wound choke, so it's it's two copper wires next to each other wound over a copper rod, ferrite rod, not a copper rod, is get another bit of ferrite rod, wind another choke like that, and that will go off to that will go to 0 volts. That will be the bias arrangement, and that will be decoupled. You need this additional choke, and I looked at it and thought, well, I can see that you're going to get the anode current, or the anode current is going to flow up through here, from the cathode through to the anode. But then I thought, well, this wire on this filament choke here is pretty thick, and I mean this anode current is probably going to be less than an amp. It's probably going to be closer to 600-700 milliamps. So, why bother with that? Why not just do that? Because that looks the same to me. Okay, so what I've done, all that would do is transfer the anode current from an individual choke, an additional choke, to running through this side of the filament choke. And I think the filament choke wire is thick enough that it can take another amp without too much bother. I'll have a look at it, but if I think that it might be pushing it, then I'll just get another bit of ferrite. In fact, I bought a bit of ferrite for that. Got that around somewhere. Little ferrite rod specifically for that job. And then I looked at I thought about it, and I thought, well, I reckon my cathode choke could take it. And then I had a sneaky look at the Ameritron 1500 circuit. And they do it this way, and I thought, aha, obviously it's an acceptable way of doing it, because those things are quite expensive. You'd think that they wouldn't be cutting too many corners in one of those. I'm probably delusional, but that's what crossed my mind. And then I thought, well, okay, well, if Ameritron can do it like that, then I don't really see why I can't. As I say, apart from the fact that I'm going to get an additional 1 amp running through that half of the filament choke. Now there's there's a bit of ferrite I bought just to wind up the additional choke if I need to. So I'll have a look at it, and I'll have a think about that one. Maybe Ameritron don't do it simply because they want to shave cents off of the commercial amplifiers, and this is a fudge. In which case the additional choke is the better way to go. And of course the additional choke is only going to cost, I can't remember what this costs now, but it wasn't very expensive. Put a bit of heat shrink over it, and then just wind some turns on there, and have that as a separate cathode choke. Yeah, actually I might do that. I'm not going to have a Zener diode there either. I'm going to have what will effectively be a variable Zener diode. I'm going to have a transistor and probably something like an LM317, I think they are, voltage regulator, and a little arrangement there with a pot, so that I can adjust that cathode bias from, I don't know, 10 to 50 volts, just to see where the valve is happiest. So that's what I've got in mind. That's what I've got in mind for that. So there we go. Maybe I will go with an individual choke. Maybe that is Ameritron being stingy, and this is the best way to do it. Yeah. Food for thought, eh? Okay, well, that's another 9 minutes. Doesn't time fly when you're having fun? My goodness. Well, I hope you enjoyed that or found that mildly interesting. And I'll thank you for watching and catch you next time.